lamp onto there.
You're gonna have it here so we can.
Yeah, as long as I have long enough cables to bring out there.
Well, they're real cheap. You can get good stuff on Amazon for cheap.
Your Amazon.
Hello. Are we live? We live?
We are live.
Hi,
It takes
everybody.
like 20 seconds to actually.
To its thingy majiggy.
Yeah, something like that. So, hi.
It's 6:00. Do you know where your children are?
We are live from
Spark Innovations, and I'm Rich, and that's Ed.
Yep.
And we build things and stuff.
And we're here live to talk about stuff. I titled this one Bass Boom Bottom, and then in the
yeah.
description I put Bass Boom Bottom.
Yeah, good stuff from the 90s.
Here
90s.
was the notification, live in Sparky.
Yay. See if there's any...
No green line.
No green lines. Yay. That's what we were hoping for.
Yeah. So it looks good.
Hey,
just in case I need a monitor.
Just in case. Wanted. Flamboyant lawyer specializing in pre-need lawsuits for accident cases. Black hair and blue eyes.
What are you going off of old stuff?
It's just in my head for years and years playing Carmen Sandiego.
So we're open to questions and comments and feedback and whatever from anyone talking about Spark Innovation stuff. But other than that, let's talk a little bit about bass music. Ooh, or, yeah. you know, one thing I do want to talk about, because we had some sound cue people want to use our stuff and whatnot. I've asked this before, but, you know, what are people into these days? Heavy bass, sound cue? Is it demo? Is it SPL? My feeling is it's just an expansion of what it's always been, and that's just kind of generalized audio. So when what we say is demo or bass, and it's not dedicated necessarily SPL or sound cue. It's just good loud sound from everything, right?
Maybe that's at least the shows that we attend, but we attend, you know, bass offs, like that kind of stuff. Like it's not like we go to SQ shows, so we might be surprised to hear from you guys. Maybe Robert High Five Egg is going to hop in here and let us know if we're missing a market or if we're excluding anyone. One thing I did notice, I've been in the group 12 volt clean wire club or something or other like that. Just watching, you know, looking at different builds and stuff, noticing that everybody's using the one on Amazon. One of it says Blue Sea Systems, other ones are not branded at all.
Like but a terminal block?
Yeah, it's that fuse block, you know what I mean? And we've had the FBX12 for a while. Not only does that have ground distribution and fused outs, it also has 4 inline fuse terminals, and it looks a hell of a lot better, in my opinion. And just sometimes we wonder, like, why certain things haven't taken off. Is it a price point thing? Is it an accessibility thing? Because I do believe the Blue Sea Systems one's probably $60, whereas I think our FBX might be $90. But you know, that's what you get with handcrafted stuff. So, and I guess I wouldn't bring it up had it not been in the specific group that I've been talking about, because those wiring jobs are gorgeous and it's clearly done for show. And you stop at the fuse block or fuse box, right? You know, you didn't hide it. You put it on the same beauty board as everything else. And it to me stands out. It sticks out as like an afterthought. And maybe I'm overlooking or
well, you mean these like
too much?
Really well designed, aesthetically pleasing amplifiers, braided wire.
Yep.
Like nice
ground distribution blocks, really nice, you know, shiny, chromy.
And then you have a cheap looking
fuse box. Yeah. Now fuse block, they're usually done pretty well. But there aren't many fuse boxes for the smaller accessory wires, you know. And that's specifically why we made the FBX12, was because we saw that there wasn't anything out there that looked really good. And I've seen it in a lot of builds, where usually SQ builds, where they'll have the RBX and then they'll also have the FBX, and side by side, you know, they look great because they're designed from the same housing, the same design language. So if you're looking for something that's aesthetically pleasing and it matches and all that stuff, the FBX12 is a great option. So I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts if we're missing something or if we're overlooking something. I'd be more than happy to consider it.
Change the design a bigger one, smaller one, different one. We got Bobby, how do you say, Burkett? and
That's a good,
Blake
yeah.
Brockhouse.
Wow,
Brockus?
2 challenging last
Brockus.
names in a row.
Oh, both BBs.
Bobby and Blake.
Well, I did the bass.
Bass,
You know,
bass.
bass
Gentlemen,
boom bottom.
that's
All
Cigar
these-
Joe. Hello,
Hey.
Cigar Joe.
What's going on, everyone? And you know, we can talk about yo Eddie, yo Bobby. So that's a question about like wiring and distribution. So the FBX, if you go to sparkinnovations.com, you go to one of our dealers' sites. We could ask Cigar Joe if their website is up yet.
The new one, I
Robert
don't know.
Bruins.
I think they're adding product still. It's not launched
Right,
yet.
but if you want to see the FBX, you can go to dealer sites or our site and see what we're talking about with the FBX. FBX meaning fuse box. It's a small wire fuse distribution center, and you know, tell us what you think and how it can be incorporated into some of these higher end wiring jobs. Besides that, we can talk about bass music. Like I said, if you're in sound cue or bass, you know, what do you listen to? When we first really started getting into car audio, we used to basically tune and set up our systems for using bass music and optimized for bass music because that's what we listen to. And we actually, you know, I've said this multiple times where I've seen comments where people say, well, you don't drive around, listen to test tones. Like I did. Okay. And bass music was part of that, where it was rhythmically pleasing test tones put to music and whatnot.
Yeah.
So back in our day, we would go to Circuit City, was one of the places that carried DM Records and Pandisc and all the record labels that made the bass CDs. So we would go to Circuit City and see what new bass CD came out. And a lot of times it was Bass Mechanic, but under DM Records, it was
Bass America.
Bass America,
Bass
Cyber
Explosion?
Bass Explosion. Was it Bass Explosion USA or
Yeah,
Bass Explosion?
USA.
All they were the black and white label on the disc itself.
DM Records, yeah.
Yeah, DJ Magic Mike was always one that I went for, but that was maybe before that time. So that was, you know, the Miami bass, and he's still around doing stuff. But that Miami bass style was more the higher tone stuff, and his albums were more like funny. He had a lot of the
I remember
jokes and stuff like that. You know, he was an actual artist where a lot of the bass music wasn't necessarily lyrical, I guess you could say, like a conventional song would be cut with music and lyrics from an artist to it. There was lyrics in there, but it was mostly sound clips from sci-fi stuff and whatnot. So it was a lot of. Was that before EDM was a thing and it kind of classified as EDM?
It was a long time before that, yeah.
And
see, that's the thing though. The stuff we listened to like that, it wasn't mainstream. You know what I mean? It was kind of like developing in in the underground kind of, and the more poppy stuff was the stuff that you heard all the time. So this stuff, I mean, maybe I didn't listen to the radio a whole lot, so maybe I'm wrong about that. But I don't see this stuff as anything that was a popular thing until later, when people got nostalgic and looked back at it.
Right, and we were the only ones buying the CDs from the bass section from Circuit City, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, and every time we get an opportunity and a new album came out, it was so exciting. Bass America, Bass Explosions. And then there was slow sci-fi bass, and then there was cyber bass, and
Bass Syndicate.
DJ Billy E, and he was Bass Mechanic, right?
Yeah, him and Neil. And one of my favorite, I forget what volume it was, but it was before what people call USACI. USACI was just USAC, USAC, and their official disc, which was not just sold through memberships, but was actually carried in these stores. And my brother Billy was the one that got that, and that had Sicilian Brown and the version I like of Pure Silicon, and the Arnold Schwarzenegger song on bass, there. Yeah. And that had a lot of songs that became like real classic songs, at least to me. It was a compilation album, basically.
Basically.
Yeah, basically. So a lot of albums like that we drove around and listened to, and I would play in my house, and I would take naps to Moments in Bass, DJ Laz, Moments in Bass. So yeah, not mainstream, but we like. I mean, I followed them. If they went on tour, I probably would have done that. You know, I wouldn't have paid more for it. I would have paid less for the tour.
It was weird that Ed and I both seemed to have the same love for that kind of music, because nobody else that we knew did, except for maybe his brother. It was a very, very, very hyper niche thing, and maybe it was just the area that we lived in. But yeah, those albums were very sacred, and we like listened to them all the time on repeat, and catalog them and take good care of the CDs and everything. But yeah, I don't know anybody like in our high school or anybody that we were friends with that would have listened to that aside from us.
No, and there were some real mainstream songs that came out that were good to listen to. LL Cool J, Boomin' System. You know, I used to listen to that. I liked. I know the Beastie Boys used it, and Master Ace, Born to Roll. That reverse bass. Is it like a reverse? That vum vum. You know that.
Oh, maybe yeah.
So they used it in a DJ Bass Boy, and on the album cover, the album cover had a. Was it like a Monte Carlo or Regal crashing into a Rockford woofer?
I was just listening to that album. Yeah,
DJ Bass Boy. That one song they have that.
That's the very first song.
Yeah,
it's the wildest thing.
It's the wildest thing. Yeah.
Zoom back, zoom back.
Right. So that was used also in Born to Roll, Master Ace Incorporated, which was about driving around in my check out the woofers in my Jeep. Check it out, baby. You know, it was about stereo. So they had decent songs that were more mainstream, but not a whole lot. Really.
We got a lot of people to respond to.
Yeah, Cigar Joe said, what did he say up there?
It's about to pop very soon.
Talking about his website.
Oh, can't wait.
Thunder guys.
Can't wait.
And he said Dynamix and DJ Fury. I know DJ Fury.
I'll have to look up Dynamix.
BFG Division.
Hi, David Monroe.
This is Blake saying, by Mick Gordon, is an excellent track for demos. Lots of low-end bass, very dynamic, no clipping, no harshness. The new thing is everyone rebasing music. Yeah, which some is good, and it depends on who does it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And depends on the source material, too.
Yeah. My tastes are definitely not mainstream, so don't listen to me.
Bach Busters? I don't remember. I don't know who that is. La Tigra. La Tigra, yeah. That's the girls, right? We like the cars that go boom. We're Bunny and whatever the names are. I remember that one.
Scott Dilbeck, what's up, man?
Yeah, Scott Dilbeck in the house.
David Kosiak. Was Koslek? I can't really read.
Koslek.
Yes. Hi, David.
And then as far as like when we would say we want to tune just the highs and without the bass, I know you used to listen to Buddy Rich all the time, which is a drummer, maybe some jazz. I know I got the Auto Sound 2000 test CD. I think you had it too. And there were some jazz tracks on there.
Yep.
And it kind of became known as the thing to tune your system to jazz. And I was like, I don't really like, I'm okay with jazz. I'll listen to it if it's on, but I'm not going to seek it out and put it on. So why would I tune my system to something I don't listen to?
Oh,
just because it had live music and live instruments and was recorded well. So I started using John Williams. Not just the Superman theme, although I would play that over and over, but I had a John Williams album with tracks from movies on there, but some of his other stuff. So the live music was pretty cool, and didn't have a whole lot of bass, but that's to be expected.
Well, yeah, when I had my EPX2, I had the E28D card, and I had 2 global setups, actually 3 global setups. One was for when my windows were down, one was for when my windows were up, and then another one was for like bass music. So what I did a lot of the time was I would have jazz EQ'd a certain way, and then bass music a certain way. Jazz and classical, I would say. And if I did it right, then rock, metal, all that stuff sounded good as well. And think, in my experience, one of the reasons is because there are certain resonances that they hit with certain brass instruments that either can be harsh or create a big resonance. Let's say in a door pod that has like a very specific,
Oh, right.
120 that goes boo. You know what I mean? You'll sometimes discover that real easily. Another one is in classical music when a whole bunch of like voices come at the same time, like operatic voices or background or anything like that. Sometimes they can create like hit that shrill part on a tweeter. That if that's crossed over a little too low, and the tweeter gets harsh, so you move your crossover point up a little bit. That's just in my experience what's happened. It's a lot easier to EQ for bass music. There's already so much managed by the fact that it's digital and that it was created digitally,
Right.
that you don't have to worry about compression and
and how it was recorded. Where was the microphone placed?
Yeah, and sometimes you're just dealing with all samples, so the program's doing all that work for you. You know what I mean? It's taking care of the compression and making sure that levels are even. Whereas with acoustic music, live music, or music that was recorded from a microphone, there's a lot of playing around that has to be done. I actually recorded an album with my one band and was shocked to find out how much went into the mixing and then the mastering. There's just a whole lot that has to be done. They used to do it manually. So you'd have vocals and then, the vocals would end and then you put the drums up a little bit and then you'd swap them, when the vocals came back. Well, now that's done digitally by compression algorithms that can basically follow through the song and level out those peaks and valleys.
Is that taking some of the artistry out of producing?
No, surprisingly not, because using that technology itself like is an art form.
Yeah. You have
It's
to set it up right.
Well, yeah, and there's
still make sure it's being done and listen to and be like, no.
Well, yeah. So every night I would be sent home with a different CD, or just you would email me the tracks, and I would listen to them in the car. I listened to them on a home stereo, listened to them on a regular like crappy boombox, and I listened to them on headphones. And I'd make notes. Drums low end -1. Guitar mid frequency around like 170 or something like that. +1, and I would do that in each on each system, and then average them out, hand them in, and then it was actually our guitarist Julio. He would go and make those adjustments, and then next day I'd get tracks again and I'd listen to them and do the same notes. And sometimes it would work where things improved. Other times you would start getting things that are muddy and they wouldn't have the same dynamics. Just a big pain. Now, that was what, 2005-ish, 2006-ish. So I'm sure technology has gotten a lot better with that kind of stuff. But back then, it was still ahead of its time, but not as good as it is today. That's a very long-winded answer now that I think about it. I didn't realize I had so much to say on the topic.
This guy said Tech Master Peb Computer Love album. First CD stole from my dad. I guess his dad listened to it and he stole it. Currently watching from Stillwater. Oh, hey, there's a good car audio manufacturer out there.
Mm-hmm.
Living Loud with Andy in the house.
What's up, man?
We got DJ Rusticles talk about how his main goal is for everything to be recorded consistently.
Is he in here?
Who, DJ Rusticles?
Yeah.
No, Blake was saying.
Oh, don't say.
Save some time from resetting your EQ for every song to have the global settings, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
By the time you get to the end of the song, then it's going to be good. And, to go off of back, not talking about recording, but about music itself and bass music versus other things and rebased music. The one thing, some rebased song, like I said, it depends on who does it and what the source material it is. But what I like about 90s to early 2000s bass music, Miami bass and the digital bass stuff, is the dynamics in the bass. So you're not. One thing I was going to say earlier was, how come when we go live, it seems like we get bombarded with stuff?
No idea.
We need to put out a notification. Like,
It never
when we go
happens
live.
like any other time. No one cares.
Yeah, a half hour before is nothing. But anyway, in the bass region of frequencies, you have dynamics. You have high bass, medium bass, low bass, where a lot of rebass songs I hear being played at shows are like the same frequency, just in different durations of time.
Oh, right.
Just boom, 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 boom.
Or sometimes
Or just the same thing. Yeah,
boom.
right. But like with bass mechanic and whatnot from back in the day, it was a range of bass frequencies, going up to 60 hertz down to like 30.
Yeah.
And that musicality made, when it dropped low and hit hard, you could find songs that hit the frequency range of your car, but it felt so much better when they were offset by other frequencies that didn't hit as hard. So you would, get a little bit of relief and then hear it come in. And it was like moving your body in different ways and causing the breath going in and out of your lungs to like act differently. And and your eyeballs to like, and I love that. So if there's rebased music out there that kind of follows suit, I'd listen to that too.
Yeah, treating the bass as an instrument is a unique concept, I think, to bass music, because you have to think about the way it's going to feel in the vehicle. That's a very unique, very specific use case for that kind of music, right? So I've noticed trying to play it in the house, even though I have a really nice home theater system, it just doesn't come across, and it doesn't balance out without, you hear all the highs and mids, but the musical part of it with bass as an instrument isn't there. So it's like the horns not being there, or like, another instrument in the band taken out, to me anyway. So the ones that are done really well, the ones on Pandisc and the one on the DM Records and all that stuff, all those artists seem to have a really good grasp on how the bass would sound with everything else in a system that can reproduce it really well.
And they either have had or would purposely think about the customers or the listeners, or they have had systems themselves or a big setup there to test as they're working on a track. Play it in the car, see how it is, go work on the master a little bit, and go back.
That is the best way to do it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of studio musicians. There's argument about whether or not they should really be sitting in front of like two really high-end studio speakers and mixing it that way,
or headphones that no one can afford that quality of headphones.
Yeah, so there's a merit to playing it on lower quality systems, because if that's the ubiquitous option for most people and they can get a hold of that and they're most likely to listen to it on that, then you want to make sure that your stuff's going to sound as best it can on that stuff too.
Yeah. So
there's definitely a give and take. And some albums, like La Sexorcisto from Rob Zombie or White Zombie, is considered one of the best recorded and mixed albums, and
which
part of it
is that?
It's the green and the black one.
I think I might
before more human than human and all that stuff. But if you play it, and you keep the volume at the same with other, let's say other bands that you listen to or other other albums, it's noticeably lower. And part of the reason is because they wanted to keep as much of the dynamic range as possible. So they took the noise floor, lowered everything, and then the big peaks, which happen very infrequently throughout the album, have room to breathe. But some people don't like that.
Is it available on Super Audio CD?
No, I don't think so. It might be. A lot of
Pink Floyd was known for recording very well and mastering very well, and they had a lot of their stuff on SACD.
Yeah, sample rate. So when you're going from analog to digital, that's one process. Another process is to start on digital 24-bit. That's what we did on our album. But the output was actually 8-bit for CD. And to this day, it still boggles my brain why we had to lose all of that resolution. So now, if we wanted to, and I've talked to my guitarist about this, it's been decades, but if we go back, we could probably get the original 24-bit master files, submit that to Amazon Music and all the other high res like Tidal and everything like that, and then the Ultra HD version would be available for listening, and have more dynamics and might make the album sound differently. So I've always been interested in that kind of
And
stuff.
if people appreciate that sort of thing.
I certainly do.
I want to talk about a pet peeve when we're talking about, you should listen to it on the device, that the people, your listeners might hear it on. What I don't like is there's some songs, I don't know if they're re-edits or what, that I guess they know they're going to be played or used on TikTok or YouTube and listened to through mobile phones a lot. So they're purposely overdriven to sound like it's a microphone picking up a loud bass system or something like that. And it's just like, it sounds horrible, but they get popular and people replay them and don't ever mention the purposely distorted or overdriven frequencies being played. And
it's difficult being Ed and Rich in this world.
I'm not as picky as you are though, but still, I guess more than the average person.
Well, yeah, and it's a bitch trying to figure out how to lower your standards in order to fit in or in order to be accepted or sound like everybody else or be in that group. Like, for instance, I have a designer friend named Brad, and he's the one that actually helped with the Spark logo in the very, very beginning. He's a graphic designer. And one thing he taught me is people actually prefer bad design. They prefer it because they don't know any better. So it's a struggle being a professional graphic artist and having to intentionally make things that aren't as good, but because your client wants it. So there's a methodology where you don't show them anything that you wouldn't want to be the end result. So even if you have good, better, best, any of those should not be one that you wouldn't approve because they're probably going to pick, in your mind, the worst one. And it's just so backwards. So that's why we make stuff here the way we know it should be, high quality, and we always want to innovate. We always want to have those like really, really high-end products in people's hands. And that's our outlet. That allows us to express ourselves. But the rest of fitting into the world is weird. But I think weird's good. I like weird.
Yeah, we're weird. It helps us do what we do. I've been watching a lot of documentaries on architecture and things. There's certain architects that purposely design their buildings asymmetrical, just slightly, because if it was perfectly symmetrical, the views from the street would look off. And there's studies of that where people like have they've done surveys and people said this building is ugly versus another one that the architect did that they say, yeah, that one looks good. And the main difference was that asymmetry being in the design. And it's personally, I think I would be able to tell if it was purposely off, if it was like slightly off and just go, oh, I wonder if they designed it that way. But most people don't. They just look at it and they see from perspective,
Part of the reason why it's difficult to advance vehicle design too aggressively, too fast. People need to get used to it. So if you make a concept car that's too crazy, oh, it's ugly.
With any form factor, Google Glasses was the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a reason why smartphones are still in a rectangle where they don't have to be, and other concepts have come out over the years, the different folding ones, the slightly curved ones, the Google Glasses and headpieces and all this and that, and it doesn't catch on. And the ones that do catch on, like the watches, are used in conjunction or as a part-time alternative to the rectangle.
Yeah.
So form factor has to be a slow. And once a large company catches on to something that sells a lot to the masses, they stick to it for as long as they can. And I heard a good comment about modern SUVs. Someone called them melted jelly beans. That's the shape they go with. Where with classic cars, you had curves and lines and sharp things meant to look like, Jay Leno says the haunches, and shoulders, and things have certain design aspects that are taken from the human body or animal bodies and things like this. And now modern SUVs are melted jelly beans. That's where they take their design.
There's a line I love from Sin City where Mickey Rourke's character he's commenting on modern cars. He goes, modern cars, they all look like electric shavers. And I was like laughing to myself, like, oh my God, he's right. Like he nailed it. Because they don't have that. My father used to have a Belvedere with the big fins and everything like that. And so long, and to park that thing, and just style. It just oozed style all over the place. And they weren't shy about it at all. They were like celebrating the fact that they could make this thing.
Yeah. I love cars from the space age, the 60s and 70s when space travel was new and big, and everything had fins, and you had like rocket shaped tail lights and exhaust tips. That everything was jet aged and space aged, and just looked like a design. It looked like something.
Raymond Loewy was like that too. He would everything always was the future. You know what I mean? And that was like part of that style. Make everything look like it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour when it's standing still.
Yeah, I love the old Popular Mechanics and Popular Science magazines that had all the illustrations of what the future would look like. And it wasn't just cars, it was homes and all that stuff. They still do that somewhat, but modern stuff is just bland. And the color choice. Now, this is disregarding the polarizing, real statement-making cars out there. There are some like that, the fun ones. But in general, the mass-bought cars are black, gray, white, jelly beans. There's not much to them.
Bobby said we should do a show and tell segment on these streams. What do you mean by show and tell, if you don't mind me asking?
We do show stuff. We don't have a lot to show off now.
Oh, yeah, but is he talking about like stuff from our house, or
your butt? Probably.
Okay, I'll show that if you want.
Find songs that are really good.
We are past 6:30. I might have to go in a smidge.
You're a smidge.
Garrick says, "Oh, ask all the questions you want, man. We don't mind. We love helping."
Garrick Hudson.
The more educated you are, the better. So ask away.
What's up, John Earl?
What's up, Earl John? John Earl?
But anyway, that's my rant about car design and music and stuff. So what else? Are we over the time? Should we get going?
We actually are. We don't want to bore you guys too much. Please don't show my booty. Why not, Mark?
Any booty.
It's one of the... Oh, yours. You don't... Oh, I thought it said my.
It said any booty.
Oh, come on. You can't
what if
take all the fun out of it.
Find a pirate's chest and want to show off the treasure inside? We can't do that?
Sure.
What if we went, what's the documentary? I think it's on maybe Hulu or maybe Amazon. Oak Island. Has anyone seen that? They think there's an actual like treasure. The funny thing is I just learned not too long ago. I think that came from pirate movies, like from the 50s or something like that. But in reality, there's never been any treasure found from pirates.
Well, like and nor treasure maps.
Right. That's not an actual thing in real life.
Yeah, not an actual thing.
Yeah. But the Curse of Oak Island, or whatever this docu-series is, it's like 10 seasons long now, is about guys that think that's actually buried somewhere in Canada, maybe Nova Scotia. They think they actually found stuff, and they've been digging all over the island. Like $1 million expedition with huge construction equipment to excavate these old tunnels.
I guess you don't know until you try.
Yeah, I mean, I only seen a few episodes, so maybe they did find something. I don't know.
Don't they have those things from where they can fly from above and
LiDAR?
Yeah, I mean, like they found Viking vessels and all kinds of good stuff below the surface. So it's not like the technology's not available. But why? That's why they do that stuff first, so that you don't spend all that money for no good reason. Now, if you saw something down there and it was clear on the LiDAR or whatever, and you kept digging, and you look from above and you're right over it, and you keep digging and you're right over it, and then it disappears, well, then that would be weird. But you eventually would find it, I would think. So why not start that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Garrick still agrees with me. Pooping is the least favorite activity. I agree.
Really? Least favorite?
I've said, well, one of the
I enjoy my poops, man.
No
Spark
way.
Innovations fan service when? Fan service? You want us to fan you? Like that?
Show booty. We're gonna have an OnlyFans.
Oh.
Show and tell your old audio equipment you have laying around.
We
Maybe
could do that. Yeah.
eventually. I don't have a whole lot here. Once I finish construction, this is going to be a test bench. I'm going to wall my desk with a wall of woofers, and I was going to bring in some of my other audio stuff. Like there'll be a shelf and stuff, and we want to kind of display some of our own products. I was thinking about doing like all of our circuit boards from
All of our
through the
circuit
generations, like version 1, 2CH, then 4CH, and all that, and just put them on the wall.
Oh yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
I'm trying to sell some Legatias and
You're selling those too?
well, look, I was doing an SQ build, and
Just finish it.
it's been like 10 years. So, these things have never been used, and they're sitting in the boxes, and I feel bad for them.
Finish it.
I got to use the amps because I built the amp rack already, and that was a lot of work, and it's powder coated, so I don't want to mess that up. But speakers I could always change out.
You have a place you can pull your car in now, not your little undersized garage at home.
Mm.
But if you want an 18-inch woofer, that is a really good woofer. He has one for sale. Should put it up on the, what's it called? Everyone knows that there's a woofer classified.
Oh yeah,
Whatever
sure.
the group page is, there's that in regular classifieds. It's a Audio Systems HSPL 18, and it's basically a DD 9500. It's an 18-inch woofer, and like pretty much never opened really. I mean, it's been opened, but it's never been installed. And he has that for sale. So
Jack Sparrow is real, in Israel. And a diagram on Instagram looking for feedback on the conductor. Okay,
Sky Mobile Sounds.
we'll basically get to that tonight probably.
And Mark A. Bradwish. That's audio abuse right there.
Which is audio. We do a lot of audio abuse. You got to be specific.
Jack Sparrow is audio abuse.
Okay. And on that note, it's raining outside.
It's been raining all day. Well, it started snow and then it's rain. All right, we're gonna sign off and be back
next Wednesday.
Yeah.
At same time, 6:00 p.m.
We'll do
Eastern.
that.
And,
For anyone in here that's been expecting big fat fannies, they've been shipping out. So yours will be coming soon also.
2 ship today, 2 are up there.
There's more being built. And there's my desk. There's none there. So yeah, the big fat fannies will be all completed soon, and then we'll move on to the next thing after that, which is more conductors being built eventually.
Woo! Hopefully ready for March.
Yeah, we
When
have
the
to get
weather starts
materials
warming.
in. More HDP, more all that.
More head to pet and aluminium.
Yep.
All right.
I saw mine on UPS website. Oh, the shipping tracking.
Aha!
thing. So, all
Fun.
right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
for tuning in.
Can't wait to get you your shirt too.
Yep, and check out sparkinnovations.com and all of our other places and things to do stuff. Go buy an FBX now, even if you don't need it.
Yes.
All right.
And start using it a lot and start showing it around and saying, hey, look how nice this looks.
Yeah, spring is coming. Get your builds done.
Get your builds done, guys. See, it shows. TDH is the first one for us.